Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, my name is Syamsul Rizal S. My student's ID 81300225012. My class PBN class 2. This video was recorded to fulfill the final test requirements for final test research methodology. Well, there are 14 questions. The question number 1. What are the main differences between basic research and applied research in terms of their purpose, approach, and contribution to knowledge and problem solving? Actually, well, my answer, the main differences between applied and basic research is in the process and the results. Why? Because basic research focus on why something happens and what causes it. The draws conclusions about a theory and forms and new concept that of understanding. Meanwhile, applied research focus on something that already known but allows for further development and provides a variety of answers from various perspectives. Therefore, applied research produces a new theory that can be tested and applied immediately, and both types of research share the same goal, finding answers to problems, but each has its own unique approach and step in contributing to the world of research. I'll move to the second question. How does combining qualitative and quantitative method in mixed method research provide a more comprehensive understanding of complex phenomena? Well, combining qualitative and quantitative method to produce a mixed method research is highly effective. Why? Because combining these two methods makes current or past research highly accurate and comprehensive. It is in the analysis of existing phenomena. Quantitative method provide data based on a matrix, calculation, and trials of the research target, which are then explained in detail using qualitative methods. Combining these two methods results in a more existing fact and data, but also clearly explain the process, resulting in valid data and which explain narratively. Question number 3. Why is identifying and clearly defining a research problem considered the foundation of the entire research process, and how does it influence the formulation of research question and methodology? For me, because good research is research that clearly explains the root of the problems being studied. The foundation of research is the existence of problem that emerges after the conducting brief observation and constructive identification. The process of identifying of the problem is the initial step, because from the identified problems, a researcher can determine the problem formulation related to what is being studied from the problem and the direction of future research. Clearly, problem identification can lead researchers to a more critical thinking foundation regarding how to solve the problem formulation by forming a clear framework. Question number 4. What are the major sources of research problems, and how can personal experience, literature review, and theoretical gaps each contribute to developing meaningful and researchable topics? Well, my answer, the research problem can be derived from the researcher personal experience, a literature review based on previously research and research gap deemed necessary for further investigation. Personal experience, it means that emerge a research source as the source of the research conducted by the researcher, usually derived from the researcher's own experience, and then linked to existing source that indicate the problem has been researched. The researcher then identify other aspects of the problem, enabling it to become an object of study that can be researched from unresearched perspective and providing a gap between research gap and existing research. Question number 5. Why is a literature review considered the foundation of any academic research, and how does it help identifying research gap and establishing a theoretical framework? Because literature review is something that can strengthen the problem formulation that has been identified previously. The literature review serves as support and provide answer related to the problem formulation that has been formulated in such a way. Therefore, the literature review can serve as a reference in existing research and then used to strengthen the research that will be studied. A literature review can bridge research gaps and build framework of thought, because from the literature review, we can analyze from what perspective the gaps in previous and current research will be studied so that we can use the research as a solution to the previous research gaps. Then, after finding a way to turn the solution into an answer, we are able to build a relevant framework, a talk between the theory used and the results of the research data. Question number 6. What are the key differences among systematic, semi-systematic, and integrative literature review, and when should each approach be used? Well, the main difference between systematic, semi-systematic, and integrative literature reviews lies in their approach to the research. A systematic literature review is used when numerous literature reviews are available and are linear with the research being studied. So we use a systematic literature review to generate systematic and evidence-based research question. A semi-systematic literature review is used when the research being studied relatively new and abroad, requiring a prior analysis of what already exists and what is missing for research. Meanwhile, an integrative literature review is a literature review used to combine various literature review approaches to produce a new conceptual model and theory. Question number 7. How do PRISMA, RAMSIS, and integrative review guidelines ensure transparency, credibility, and rigor in the literature review process? Well, PRISMA, RAMSIS, and integrative review all provide a methodological framework. PRISMA ensure a systematic, documented, and transparent literature review, enabling replication resulting in reliable and valid results. RAMSIS ensures a thoroughness of both conceptual and theoretical literature review, enabling the results of thoroughness of both conceptual and theoretical literature review. Why and how the research even occurred. Meanwhile, an integrative literature review combines theoretical and and empirical findings to generate a new insights and theories while maintaining a focus of systematic steps. Move to question number 8. What are the main differences between a theoretical framework and conceptual framework in terms of their basis, purpose, research type, and focus, and why it's crucial to distinguish between them in academic research? Well, actually, the main differences between conceptual and theoretical framework in terms of its basis, objective of type of research, and focus is how existing theories are reviewed based on the research to be conducted using concept carried out and formulated by the researcher. The theoretical framework provides existing theories and is ready to be reviewed based on the suitability of the research to be studied by the researcher. Then the conceptual framework is a concept chart compiled by the researcher. Why is it important to distinguish between two in academic research? Because the theoretical framework produces a study of existing theories and is ready to be tested in research conducted by the researcher, while the conceptual framework is a big picture of the picture related to the flow of concept that will be used the researcher in terms of carrying out his research. Question number 9. How does the input process output model strengthen a conceptual framework, and in what ways does it help researchers clarify relationships among variables and evaluate outcomes effectively? Well, actually, the input process output, or IPO, model is able to strengthen the conceptual framework because the IPO provides a clear flow from the beginning of how the research is conducted and the research process is carried out, are able to clarify the relationship between variables and evaluate the output effectively. Well, using the IPO can help the researchers to clarifying the relationship between variables and evaluating the output effectively, because the IPO model provides a clear conceptual flow, is able to explain the relationship between the variables, identify its relationship between variables to evaluate the effectiveness of the research. Question number 10. Why is it essential to include both a visual diagram and narrative explanation when presenting theoretical or conceptual framework, and how do these elements enhance the clarity, the credibility of research study? Because by using a visual diagrams and narrative explanation, it's hoped that research results will be easier for readers to understand and simplify complex research results explain theories in the research context, and be able to describe and explain the direction of the research. Because in this visual diagram and narrative explanation, it's more comprehensive to be understood by the reader, because by visual diagram, a reader can establish their knowledge to see the visual diagram, and to explain the visual diagram, the researcher need a narrative explanation. Question number 11. What are the key differences between research design and research methodology, and why is understanding the relevance essential for producing valid and credible research? Actually, the main difference between research design and research methodology is that research design discuss about how the research will be conducted, and then for the research methodology, discuss the plan or the basis for conducting the research by the researcher. Question number 12. What are the main elements or stages involved in formulating a research design, and how do they contribute to ensuring the validity, reliability, and impact of the research? Actually, the main stage in developing or formulating a research design include determining the research topic, is considering the research approach to be used, determining the types of the research design, grouping targets and samples, selecting data collection methods, creating data processing steps or procedures, and determining research results to determining research period. Number 13. How do systematic framework, quality standards, validity, reliability, and objectivity, and philosophical foundation interact to shape a sound research methodology? Well, a systematic framework, quality standards, validity, reliability, and objectivity, and philosophical foundation interact to form a sound research methodology, by being interconnected and supporting each other in relation to their position in the research. A systematic framework determines how the research is conducted, while quality standards determine the required results or outputs, supported by philosophical foundation that is accurate and has a valid data or sources, making the research use a sound research methodology. Question number 14, or the last. How do the interrelated components of research, from identifying a problem, reviewing literature, building frameworks, designing the study, to applying the appropriate methodology, work together to ensure a research project is systematic, credible, and contributes meaningful knowledge to the field? Systematic, credible, and meaningful research for education is not made up for a single component, but consider for every component and element that should be included in a study. These components must be interconnected to produce a research that has high credibility, because the research is conducted systematically, tested, and has significant impact on the world of education. I think that's all the whole question for final test research methodology. I do really hope as a student for English Education Department PUN Class 2 this to fulfill the final test requirements. I think that's all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.